Tom, since you've been here, your modus operandi was to be elite. And I don't know if you saw Mark Turgeon's comments after the game, but somebody asked him about a couple of his players that didn't play well last night, and he said this was their chance to learn how elite teams play. And that's pretty high praise coming from a guy of a good team.
It is, and they got a good team too, but the problem that they have is they've got a few more freshmen. We have a few more veterans. Today I did something uncharacteristic. I just felt like I needed to give Cassius a rest and Cueto a little bit, so they didn't do much. So those freshmen were out there. And I said, if anybody wanted to question why they got to get better, why you got to be hard on them, why they got to push themselves, you saw it in living color. So don't question anymore. Just kind of know that that's it. And Turge has, a couple more freshmen on there too. That I think he played 4 of them, and but I appreciate that. I just know that we still got a long way to go. I get a big kick out of the video. I got my son showing me a video that I'm never happy. He's right, they're right, and you're right. But I'm never happy because you just watch practice, and those young guys got so much to learn and so much to grow and so much to get better. I thought what impressed me is I was going to give Nick a little time off, and he didn't want any. I think he's focused in. I think he knows that he's not been running quite as hard or posting quite as deep, and a couple bad calls that weren't last night wasn't all his fault, but I think you're going to see him play a lot better too.
Is there How big of a silver lining to that with Nick, Mitch, in this stretch right now?
I'm not big on silver linings. Like you think you should lose a game, you think you should play good without, win a game without your stars playing good, or look what you're doing without the, Josh and Aaron, or Kyle. And I don't think you need that if you got some veteran guys. It didn't make me sleep any better because I think that we have to do things. We did some great things, but the second half we didn't play very good. And we need to stay focused on what we got to do on a continuous basis, and that's just the way it is. So, when Nick doesn't play as well, we don't get the inside-out passes. And then or when he's not in the game, we didn't shoot the ball as well. Part of it was that. Our fast break wasn't quite as good because we weren't rebounding as good and getting it out. So one leads to another, but I'm not into the let's find a reason to feel good. I'll find a reason to feel good when we play at the level I think we need to play every game.
How the Wisekamp kid, he's playing really well now for Iowa. How does he change him? I know he rolled the ankle in the game.
Yeah, well, he's playing really well before he played us. He rolled the ankle a little later, but he's playing well. They're shooting the ball a lot better as a team, and I think you guys agree. I think I told you at the beginning of the year that was one of my picks as a sleeper team. I thought Iowa, they got everybody back. They got guards, they got bigs, they got athletes, they got, the other kid that's playing better is the Moss kid. But I think they got 3-4 guys shooting in the mid-40s from the 3 right now. So they're filling it up. They're scoring a lot of points. And Wisekamp is a very good freshman, and they've got size. They've got big size. Everybody's big except their point guard, and their other point guard 6'7". So, they're playing good. They are good. It'll be a tough place to play. Last week we got a little break. This week they played Sunday. We played Monday. We're on the road. All those things are going to happen in this league a lot, and I'm just looking forward to the opportunity to try to see if we continue to grow, because when you win games on the road, or you got to play games on the road in tough environments, you kind of learn a lot about your team, so I'm anxious to learn.
How big of a concern is it, these next 2 teams you beat handily at home, for these guys understanding?
That was, I think, 100 years ago. It might have been a couple years less, but it sure seems like that. Iowa was playing really well early, then they didn't play very well for a few weeks, and we were in that week, and Purdue, one guy had an off night. We've had one of our guys have an off night. One guy has an off night. There's no question that it's a different team, and Purdue has played very well. They've shown everybody that they can beat people on the road, like Wisconsin, played well against Indiana. I'm just worried about Iowa, and then I'll get to not sleep and worry about Purdue.
Tom, when you first got McQuaid, did you see him as this future defensive stopper for you? Because it seemed like it was all about his three-point shooting.
Yeah, no, I wish I could lie to you guys and tell you I thought Draymond would be this, and I thought Izzo would be that, and I thought McQuaid would be this. No, I didn't. I did not look at him as a defensive stopper at all, but he sure has become one, and we just got to make sure that he doesn't forget his offense either. He's got to be able to do both, and that's what seniors should be able to do. So when he shoots well and defends well, we're a much, much better team.
You mentioned Cassius last night about trying to manage their minutes. Where's this challenge right now for you in terms of juggling those minutes?
As dumb as it sounds, it's the hardest challenge I got. Because then you got a 2-day prep, and you're on the road, and you got to rest the guys here, and we got to get better, and you got to get prepping for another team. I'm not used to this, We've always, thank God, I did something that I questioned early too, and that was play some of those freshmen early on when a lot of people don't play them, and I mean it's helped us, but those guys got a long way to go. I mean, Aaron shows moments of brilliance, and yet they just got to get better. It's not their fault, but it's hard because I've never, ever taken 2 days off like I did a couple weeks ago, where rested guys the whole practice. I guess it's part of the times, but my one assistant, Doug Wojcik, said to me, you're playing off what you did for most of your career. For most of my career, we weren't playing 7 days a week. Most of my career, we had, maybe you'd have a Tuesday, then Saturday, or Wednesday, Saturday, or sometimes even Thursday, Saturday. And now playing all these days a week, I guess I got to adjust a little bit too, and that's been a challenge, to be honest with you.
Is there something that early on Cassius had those couple games where he wore down late, and it seems like with similar minutes he's figured out how to hold up? Have you noticed anything from him?
Well, he's in better shape. He really is. I mean, he's in better shape, and he's smart enough to know when to relax. And I know if it's on the defensive end, I'm going to jump him, and he knows it. So it's a beautiful marriage. It works really well together. And right now, I think he is managing it, but we're trying to manage him, on his off days a little bit more. And but I think if we're going to be a great team, we've got to figure out how to still maneuver those guys, and depending where Josh is, and whether we think that Kyle is going to hold up here a little bit, it'll be a lot easier to do it. You take two key guys that were both playing 30 minutes and 20-some minutes out, and it's been a little bit harder to manage. And but Cassius is doing it, and I'm trying to do it, but it's a lot on him. But he's a smart enough kid. He's honest, and he's done a pretty good job of it.
Tom, every game is a test, but this one's a pretty big one with 2 road games, right?
Yeah, it is. It's there's no question. They've won 9 out of 10. Is that what it is? 10 out of 11, 8 out of 9, whatever they've won, and they're doing a much better job. And they've got a lot of players. I mean, they're playing 9 every game, and I mean 9 guys that most of them have a lot of experience. So to go back on the road and one of the longer trips, it's going to be a challenge, but it's also going to be an opportunity. And I look at these as opportunities to see how far some guys have come, whether we can take our defense on the road. That's been a positive. That I think, I talked to Mark D'Antonio a little bit about that. It keeps you in games. You got to shoot better than we did the other night, but I know we'll do that. If our defense can keep us in games, especially on the road, I'm up for the challenge. I'm liking it.
How critical is just the mental factors for Thomas and Marcus right now, especially with how the game gets called in the post?
Yeah.
They could be thrust in like last night.
Yeah, and it's all of a sudden it's more physical now than it used to be. It seems like it's changing all the time. It's touch fouls, then it's beat them up, but that's why we're trying to beat those guys up a little bit here. And Thomas is coming. He played pretty well last night. The few minutes he played, but he has a knack. He has a great understanding, and yet Marcus has a tremendous ceiling. He just not physical enough right now, but they could get thrust in there. We're gonna move some people around and try to get back to playing a lot of people some minutes. I won't say how many, but some.
So Cash is sitting there that didn't have anything to do with his knee. That was just.
I mean, his knees are a little sore. He's got a little tendonitis, but that's been that way for a long time. I guess he just bruised that knee. There's no twist. Just knocked it on the floor. But that had nothing to do with why that decision was made yesterday in the morning. What we were going to do today.
But what's left for him to do in terms of level? Is there another level for him still?
I think there is. I really do. I think the other level is going to be partly on us. We got to manage it a little bit. I think he's so good on the break, but if he wears down,
right?
Then he, skated a little bit there in the middle of that second half defensively. But what I liked is now I can challenge him and he responds. He gets it. He sees it, and he's done a very, very good job of responding, and that's a coach's dream, really is, because that means he trusts you.
Yeah.
And so the challenges are, hey, get going. It's not having to bench a guy or pull him out very often or this. I might pull a guy out just to tell him, put him right back in, but I like the way he responded the other day, and I know he's tired. But it's not my job to let him be tired, I don't have that freedom.
I remember you talking about Draymond late in his career when it was unclear what his, because he was a 6'7", 4. What was that? Is Cassius a guy who eventually can play at that next level?
I think he can, I think he can. I think his frame's got to continue to get stronger, no question. But it is a lot different if you saw the before and after pictures of his freshman year. But I think strength now is going to be now he's changed his body, he's eating better. He was a gummy bear guy, now he's eating better. And
because he's never going to be a turn-the-corner speed guy, right?
No, he's not. But he's herky-jerky, I say.
Pooh Richardson?
Maybe a Pooh Richardson. Yeah, he was kind of not real great athlete, but he was built. But that's what he's got to do.
Right.
Look at Bryn Forbes.
Yeah,
Look at Bryn Forbes. How he's changed. That's the kind of thing that he's really got to take that to heart. And his defense has got to continue to get better, so it's adequate. Not superb, but adequate. But he's got that Barry Sanders, not total speed, but he can go right and go left. He's got the herky-jerky stuff. Sometimes that's harder to guard than just the speed guy.
Tom, I wanted to ask you, since the turn of the new year, Kenny's numbers at least have been pretty consistent. I'm just wondering if you've been as happy with what he's been able to do as those numbers indicate.
I keep beating my staff up because I was, if Kenny's starting to love the game, and it's taken a little while, probably too long. Some of that has to fall on me, but just his whole demeanor to things. I mean, he's stronger, he's tougher, he's shooting it better. That's why a good team becomes a better team, because some key guys like that, Josh was going to do. You kind of know what Nick's going to do, although Nick's improved a lot, But it's guys like Kenny, it's those, McQuaid becoming the great defender. Those are the guys that make your good team a great team, and maybe a great team, an elite team, if you can continue to get the other guys going. Right now, our depth is an issue. And if we could get some of that depth back, I think we could run more, and I think lethal on the run.
When a guy like that does what he's doing, though, that kind of helps keep the ship a little stable, I guess.
It does, because
times, right?
what he's got going for him is he can play a lot of different positions. Meaning, we played him at the 3 a couple of games. We played him at the 4. He's played the 5. He can guard almost 1 through 5. That makes it pretty special. As I sit here and watch Josh Langford make shot after shot, I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Well, can you give us an update? I mean, since you talked about it, we wouldn't have asked, but since you brought up the fact he is over there shooting.
No, that's fine. I mean, the sad part for me is I don't have a great update. He's had the boot on, as you noticed. He took it off a couple days ago and spent part-time, but then it was partly on. And it's now to figure out how sore it gets, to see if it's cartilage and this and that, and whether it needs more rest. And I said I thought we'd know how he responded to the medication and everything. I thought we'd know, hopefully at the end of this week, on getting a real timetable. I don't think it's going to be weeks and weeks. He's either going to be able to go, or he's going to be laid up for weeks and weeks.
Last question from me, Tom. I just asked Nick. I saw something last night. When he was out, there was no pouting. He was up cheering. He was not a good teammate. He was as good as any guy you've had wear the green and white, and that says something. And I asked him, and he said this. He said, in the past, I would have pouted. I would have blamed everyone else. That's not my job. If I'm not playing, I still need to contribute. Take away basketball. How proud are you? Because a lot of people, will bitch and moan at Tom Izzo, like you talked about Cash, or how hard you are. But this kid's gone from being a kid when he got here to becoming a man. How proud are you?
That's the greatest thing you can do for your own kids, as you know, or for your players, which end up it's kind of your kids. When guys kind of start trusting you, and it's just a whole different feeling. And it's, I see him doing better in school. I see him being more accountable. I see him working on his game, working on his free throws. I seen him handle frustrating times, and I thought that. I was madder than he was. I thought there was some question marks, but really proud. I really enjoy that part of my job. A lot of parts I don't, but that part I do, and I think you're going to see him bounce back. It's going to be interesting to see. Whenever you struggle a little bit, you usually refocus in, and we think he's not running like he was running. He was getting down there. He was getting open before the double teams would come. And so we looked at a lot of film today, and we're going to show him some tonight. I figure we'll build on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
All right, guys.